concentration, willpower, determination. All vital parts of an intriguing test of human will and physique. All hallmarks of the first ever MetaMan Bintan 2012. Welcome to the island of Bintan, a jewel in the warm waters of the South China Sea and the location for this triathlon competition. A short 45-minute ferry ride from Singapore, Bintan is an oasis of peace and calm. It is also dotted with many resorts, including the fabulous Nawana Gardens, the host for the first ever MetaMan Bintan 2012. The island is today not only a world-renowned holiday eco-tourism resort destination, but is also fast garnering a reputation for hosting world-class sporting events.
Terima kasih. Kami berharap dengan diadakannya event-event yang bertaraf internasional ini adalah bertujuan untuk mengenalkan Bintan di luar negeri itu agar lebih populer. Sebagai salah satu daerah tujuan wisata, kami pemerintah Bintan berusaha untuk menyiapkan beberapa tempat yang akan kita jadikan sebagai salah satu tujuan wisata. Nah, sebagai contoh di Lago ini yang tempatnya sungguh indah yang berada di Nirwana Garden ini, dan kemudian kita akan coba juga menyiapkan khusus untuk ekowisata yang ada di luar daerah kita ini. Nah, makanya dengan adanya event-event seperti Tour de Bintan, seperti MetaMan, dan kemudian ada kite surfing yang kita buat di Pulau Bintan ini dapat menjadi sebuah media promo untuk kita sampaikan kepada luar negeri.
The beauty of the MetaMan course itself starts with the 3.8-kilometre swim. Set in the crystal clear and usually calm waters of the South China Sea, the first 550 metres of the course is enclosed in a sheltered bay, before a 20-metre run over a small peninsula takes the competitors into a more open body of water. A short hop to the transition area and it's off for the bike leg, which is a 90-kilometre lap done twice. The route meanders through the northwestern part of the island, which, save for a few villages full of enthusiastic flag-waving spectators, still lies in its natural state. The 42-kilometre run course is entirely within the grounds of Nawana Gardens and is mostly flat and covers 3 distinct zones, including a 3-kilometre section of each loop run over the soft-packed trails of the Wakatobi jungle track. The jungle canopy will provide a welcome respite from the sun for the early runners, and the trail will be well illuminated as the day turns into night. Another 3-kilometre portion of the run takes the runners on a journey through the roads, paths and lanes of the resort, with a beachside stretch linking the two. The Nawana Gardens Resort is the host venue for the MetaMan Bintan 2012, and guests and competitors were welcomed with traditional Indonesian hospitality. Dignitaries and VIPs were on hand for this event, as Bintan is seen by many as a perfect sporting destination. With the event attracting a competitive field of professional athletes, along with the usual enthusiastic amateurs, the organisers put on a well-attended press conference.
How important is this type of sporting event like MetaMan?
Then it was the official carbo-loading dinner in the evening for competitors who wanted to fill up on pancakes, pasta, as well as good company and conversation. The professional athletes took advantage of this final opportunity to fill the tank before the start of the event, and among them was pre-race favourite Aaron Brendan Farlow. Aaron is an Aussie triathlete and has been a professional since 2004. The 31-year-old is a world traveller, having competed in triathlons down under, Europe and Asia.
Yeah, I've done a few of the 70.3 races in Singapore, and it's half the distance, and it's still been tough. So double the distance, and a few more hills in the course. So it's definitely going to be tough. I found that I was a lot more suited for the longer course racing. I'd raced short course for a number of years, and I just found that my results were a lot better in the long course, and I enjoyed it as well. So I just, sort of, work my way towards that. I was still working full time and just out of school, and I'd done my apprenticeship, and it was time to either, give triathlon a good crack or, just go back to my day job. And I decided to have a go and move to the big city and try training full time. And I really enjoyed it, but I just wasn't good enough to make a living out of it. So I had to, juggle training and working for 5 or 6 years before I could actually do it fully professionally. So it's been a progression over a number of years, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
In the women's field, Australia's Belinda Granger is the undoubted favourite. The 42-year-old is a veteran of 36 Ironman distance races and has been a professional for 10 years. Belinda has also finished top 10 in the Hawaii Ironman an astonishing 6 times.
There's no doubt it's going to be extremely difficult, and which is one of the reasons that my husband and I decided to join the inaugural MetaMan Triathlon. I've done a lot of racing in Asia. I've spent pretty much 95% of my career racing in and out of Asia, so I know it's going to be extremely hot and humid, but that's what I like. And it sort of changes the outcome of the race. It's not so much about speed, it's not so much about setting fast times, it's about conserving energy and keeping that core body temperature as low as possible and just basically surviving the distance rather than actually truly racing the distance. Really is a different strategy to what I would take into, say, an Ironman distance race that I would do in Europe, where the conditions aren't so severe. Obviously, you start looking after yourself days leading into the race. Plenty of sodium, plenty of hydration, making sure that your sodium, your magnesium, your potassium levels are all really high. And then on race day, really getting in. There won't be many times when I'm not actually drinking, and not drinking so much water. I probably won't drink water at all tomorrow, because you're sweating so profusely over such a long period of time. It's almost impossible to get that sodium back in your system, so you're always continually playing catch up. So just really, one of your strategies is to just continually be drinking electrolytes. So tomorrow the on-course electrolyte is cover shots drink, so I'll be drinking that as many times as possible. And also just not going out too hard too soon. Keeping it steady on the bike, being aware of my core body temperature and trying to keep it at a level that I know I can sustain, and then saving something for that run, because obviously during the run it's going to be the hottest part of the day, and that's where you're going to really start to see people that haven't looked after themselves on the bike. That's where you're going to start to see people crumble.
So get ready for the beauty and excitement from the scenic island of Bintan, as Kelly Latimer brings you all the action from site, while commentators Phil Dark and Olympic triathlon coach Chris Pallone bring you all the highs and lows from the inaugural MetaMan Bintan 2012.
Welcome back to Bintan Island in Indonesia, the home of the MetaMan Iron Distance Triathlon. A swim, a bike and a run, something to do on a beautiful day in Indonesia. The swim course is a unique one. It is 2 laps over 2 different swimming bays in the South China Sea. Temperature around about 29 degrees, shouldn't be any problem. A non-wetsuit swim for the competitors in both the full iron distance race and the half. So all is in readiness. For a lot of these athletes, both the pro, elite and the age groupers, this is the culmination of a year and sometimes 2 years and sometimes half a lifetime of training, half a lifetime dedicated to the pursuit of fitness. This is where all the questions will be answered. This is the iron distance field. A 3.8 kilometre swim, a 112-mile bike ride or 180 kilometres, and then a full marathon run under hot, sunny conditions here in Indonesia. Time to welcome in our expert comments man, Chris Pallone, the New Zealand Triathlon Olympic coach at the London Olympics, had just recently completed London Olympics. And Chris, a good field here for what should be a pretty amazing race.
Yeah, good race in a very nice setting as well.
So this is the field in the iron distance event. Ahead of them, 3.8 kilometres. As I said, conditions absolutely perfect here as they plunge into the South China Sea. And look for Brett Carter from Australia with a life-saving background, surf life-saving champion of Australia before he switched to triathlon. He should be at the pointy end of the swim. Something like 112 competitors in the full iron distance event, and many, many more in the accompanying half Ironman race, which we will see a little bit later on. And this looks like it is Carter out in front, a man that has just recently committed to a full-time career in professional triathlon. In fact, this will be his first race start as a full-time professional triathlete. Aaron Farlow in this group as well, so watch for them as they work their way into this 3.8 kilometre swim, a 2-lap swim if you like. They'll touch down, they'll get a chance maybe to replenish some fluids before they plunge back into the South China Sea and do the second lap. And Chris Pallone, this is, some say in iron distance racing, the easiest part.
Yeah, you can't win the race in the swim, but you can lose it. So, you know, you want to get out towards the front of the field, and that'll sort of put you in a reasonably good position on the bike. Even though you're not allowed to draft on the bike, just being in what you'd call a loose drafting situation helps a lot.
So this is Brett Carter out of the water first, touches down, goes across to the other side of the bay and swims the second and final lap here to complete the 3.8 kilometre distance. It is the shortest distance that they will race over 3 disciplines. This is Aaron Farlow from Team TBB. Just recently come back from a training camp in Switzerland. Had a very busy European season. The Australian from Canberra. Brett Carter also racing under the Team TBB banner.
Okay, Bintan, we need you to make some more noise.
So Carter had a pretty healthy lead as the rest of the swimmers come out. This looks like it might be Freddie Cronenberg out of the water. First of the women coming out as well, and that's an astounding first lap for our first lady competitor out of the water. These are the full iron distance athletes, remember.
It's one of the few times I've seen fluid replacement in the swim, so conditions are obviously warmish.
Well, that's right, it's around about 33 degrees at the moment as we watch Brett Carter heading back towards shore now. This time he will come out of the water and run to the transition area to his bicycle and prepare for his 180 kilometre journey. 2 laps, essentially in and out of the Nwana Gardens and around the island of Bintan. And here's the chasing pack, and it looks like we're developing quite a good race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th there, Chris.
Yeah, good, quite a tight, compact group and second backwards, so they're probably going to form a fairly sort of loose group on the bike. I was just looking around and probably see how much of a break he's got, and do I go solo or do I wait for the rest?
Well, 48 minutes and 10 seconds have passed since Carter hit the water first time out, so he will come out as the leader.
With surf life-saving background, he's obviously an excellent swimmer.
So now it's about gathering your thoughts and I guess changing your physiology just a little bit, because for the last 48 minutes he's been using his upper body mostly, and now he's going to switch to cycling, which of course uses your lower body. Helmet goes on, he's got the timing chip on his ankle, so he's ready to go, ready to get to his bike and head out onto this 2-lap course. 90 kilometres per lap to make up the 180 kilometre distance that makes up an iron distance race. And you see the aero position of the water bottle on the front of the aero bars. Chris Pallone, interesting to note that Brett Carter is not wearing an aerodynamic helmet.
No, an aero helmet is worth probably 2 to 3 seconds a kilometre in terms of aerodynamics and speed gained, but of course minimal vents. So it's hot conditions, so he's obviously thought go with a normal helmet and more airflow and more cooling.
To cross that finish line is just so rewarding, and it's a total battle to get to that finish line. But when you do get there, it's just an amazing feeling. You know, there'll be another 6 or 7 guys behind me chasing hard, so I'll be trying to stay in front of them and see where they are during the day. So there's plenty of things to think about. It's going to be a really tough race, just to be out in the heat for 9 hours. To overcome the cramping, all your nutrition issues. It's going to be a hard day. But I think the person that wins on Saturday will be the person that can handle the heat the best, not necessarily the fittest person. So there's 7 guys that could all handle the heat differently. So it's going to be interesting. The swim is basically you try and go with the leaders, stick with them as best I can, and then once we're on the bike, it's such a long bike. It's 180 k's. You don't want to go out too hard too early, and it's a tough course in hot and humid conditions. So I'll just stick to my own pace on the bike, and whether I'm losing time to the leaders or I'm out the front by myself, I'll just stick to my own heart rate, and then hopefully get off the bike and get through a decent run.
This is Lucy Valenkova by the look of it, first of our lady swimmers out of the water in around about 54 minutes, 54:22 the official timing, so a good swim for Lucy. Another one with plenty of racing under the belt.
She's got a good couple of minutes break on the other leading woman who are sort of swimming together in a little bit of a bunch. And she's gone with the aero helmet, so that's an interesting decision.
Well, hot, humid conditions expected here in Bintan. This is Australian veteran Belinda Granger.
I loved Ironman from the first time I did it. So I did my first Ironman distance race in 1999, and I think this is going to be my 4th or 6th Ironman distance race. So I've done plenty. And it definitely is a lot more psychological than doing, say, a half or an Olympic distance. Every single professional that lines up tomorrow is fit enough to get through this distance. We train full time. That's not the issue. It's mentally being prepared to struggle through the bad spots. And every single person out there tomorrow, regardless of how good they are, will have 1, 2, maybe 3 periods of time throughout the day where they are going to struggle and they are going to doubt whether they can finish. Because that's just the brain telling you to stop. And often when the brain starts sending those signals, physically you're still fine. You're still perfectly fine, but the brain's telling you, no, I'm done, this is too hard. And if you give into that, it makes it for a very, very hard day. So you need to have psychological strategies in place to deal when the brain starts telling you, hey, it's time to cut out. And that can be tough. And obviously with experience, you learn how to deal with that a lot better. So what I've got over some of the other girls is that experience of learning to tough it out, knowing that it's only my brain telling me that really my body is still completely fine. So, you have these little fights inside with yourself that you really have to struggle with all day, and it's just a matter of having strategies in place that when that time comes that you're ready to play ball. On my long bike rides, when I start to feel not so great, I talk to myself, literally talk to myself out loud and tell myself that no, I actually am okay. Okay, I'm feeling bad. Do I need to eat? Do I need to drink? And then, take that, okay, let's just wait 5-10 minutes, see if that helps. And often, 9 times out of 10, it does help. And then at home, when you've got your feet up in between sessions, I often think of positive things. What are positive things I can think about to get me through this race? And they can be as silly as, okay, as soon as this race is over, I'm going to give myself 2 days off and I'm going to go shopping and I'm going to buy myself a new pair of shoes. I'm going to give myself a massage. I'm going to come to the spa and treat myself to a facial. Anything that provides motivation for you to get across that finish line. And what might motivate me might be completely different to what motivates my husband or to the next competitor. But it's got to be something that motivates you from within, that helps you get to that finish line. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether we're doing this as a profession or doing it for fun or just as an age grouper, the one common goal that every single athlete has out there tomorrow is we want to make it to that finish line in any shape we can.
So Belinda Granger about to head off. Also in that bunch will be Erika Soma from Hungary. This is New Zealand's Candice Hammond. Another one that changed sports, have gone to iron distance racing or iron distance racing. There's an elite rower in New Zealand, and judging by New Zealand's pedigree in elite rowing, she has obviously decided that triathlon is for her. Just buckling her helmet and getting to her machine now, and off she'll go. It's all different levels of competitors here at Bintan. Candice Hammond, pretty new to the sport of iron distance triathlon. Belinda Granger, 40 and inducted into the Australian Ironman Hall of Fame. So the athletes making their way out onto the bike course. Ahead of them, 180 kilometres, 2 loops of this spectator-friendly course. And each of those loops contains 600 metres of positive ascent, so a fair bit of climbing to do. 180 total kilometres and fairly scenic if you can take the time to have a look round. Certainly follows the coast as it comes back to complete each lap. Each lap they will pass the brand new multi-hotel development at Lagoya Bay, and it is absolutely stunning.
Right now we are here at a location called Lagoya Bay, and this 1,300 hectare newly master planned location will have a new slew of many exciting beach and off-beach resorts coming up. Presently we've got about 3 under construction, another 6 in various stages of planning, and where we're standing right now is going to be the heart of the whole Lagoya Bay area. Bintan will continue to be an idyllic beach resort getaway. Beautiful waters, white sandy beaches. Enjoy the race. You are at a resort. This is not just a sporting event, it is also a holiday. A holiday certainly for the participants, but for those who have brought their families here as well, I'm sure they'll have a wonderful time, a memorable time, and enjoy the beauty and experience the delights of this beach island destination.
Plenty of action still to come in the MetaMan Bintan 2012. Stay with us. Welcome back to Indonesia and MetaMan 2012, coming to you from Bintan Island. And in the full iron distance race, the top competitors are out on the cycle leg. 180 kilometres, 2 90-kilometre loops, and out in the front it is Australia's Brett Carter. This is one of the New Zealanders in the field. This is Carl Reid, another one that has just decided to pursue his fame and fortune in professional triathlon. He came out of the water in the second group, number 33. And Chris Ballone, a lot of New Zealanders are deciding to do that. In the last couple of years, a lot of young guys that have been doing quite well in age group racing back home in New Zealand have decided to move into the pro ranks.
Yeah, and particularly the longer distance as well, because Olympic distance now is just so competitive. You know, some people are being pushed out in distance, you know, particularly if they want to go professional.
This is Aaron Farlow from Australia. Second out of the water, just ahead of the chasing group, second on the road. Up ahead of him, Brett Carter. He took virtually 3 minutes lead heading on to the bike portion of the circuit. This is one of the hills. There's a couple of hills on each of the 90-kilometre loops.
So 600 metres of climbing each 90k loop, so it's not a huge amount of climbing, but it's enough to test the legs a bit.
This is our race leader, Brett Carter, and Chris, it looks to me like he's pushing a fairly big gear here.
Yeah, reasonably big gear, and he's obviously going up a hill as well, and you can see him just looking around there, so he's just making a decision whether to sort of go back to the group or stay together.
And they say, don't they, in iron distance racing, it's all about only having a certain amount of energy to use, and you've got to conserve it as much as you can. So you mentioned the fact that, is he thinking about breaking away here, or is he thinking about, well, if I'm conservative, I can just hold on to this lead, I don't need to push myself, I've still got a full marathon run to think of?
Yeah, he's definitely thinking of, it's a bit like having $100 to spend, and you spend your $100 wisely, and it's a non-drafting race, but if you are in what you call a loose draft situation, you're outside like we can see here, you still do get a little bit of drafting benefit even though you're well behind the cyclist or a group of cyclists in front. So being in a group, even in a non-drafting race, does have advantages.
Just got a glimpse there of Katja Raab, and number 24 on the bike is Belinda Harper, the New Zealander.
Stalwart of New Zealand long distance racing. Belinda won her age group at Hawaii 1 year.
Fellow New Zealander in the field, Carl Reid, currently sitting in about third or fourth spot, just going past Belinda Granger there. So Belinda Granger came out of the water, had an amazing swim, not quite as good as Lucy Zelenkova's, but still right up there in the top 10. Some problems here for one of the competitors. Of course, in iron racing, there's no outside assistance allowed.
the dreaded puncture. If you invented the puncture-proof racing tyre, you'd be a millionaire.
This is Freddie Cronenberg from Sweden, now spends a lot of time in Asia. As we go back to number 37, Aaron Farlow. In fact, this is a pass for the lead. So things getting interesting on the bike course here in the full iron distance MetaMan 2012. Things getting interesting too on the beach. Let's go down to Kelly Latimer and she'll tell you about it.
So the full Ironman is currently underway here in Bintan and it's getting exceedingly hot. Temperatures rising as the sun comes up. These guys are really going to have to push themselves. Today is not about beating their personal bests, it's really about surviving the course. And it's the same that can be said for the half iron competitors as well. It's going to be really tricky for them as it's going to be particularly hot as they kick off in a couple of hours. They've got a 1.9 kilometre swim, a 90 kilometre bike ride and a 21 kilometre run to look forward to. Let's take a quick look at their course.
Well, the course for the half MetaMan is, as you would suggest, a half of the full iron distance. That means there's only one loop in the swim to make up the 1.9 kilometres. There's only one lap of the island to make up the 90 kilometres, as opposed to the 2 for the 180 kilometres for the full MetaMan. And there is just the half marathon to contend at the end of the day. 21 kilometres, 3 laps instead of 6 in the full MetaMan. Competitors from all over the world have come to Bintan Island for this very special race. Well, as you would expect, all the pomp and ceremony of the local Indonesian culture here as we get set for the start of the half MetaMan. Hot conditions, midday here on Bintan Island, hot and humid, but it hasn't stopped hundreds and hundreds of athletes dedicating this afternoon to their physical pursuits.
Certainly hotter and more humid than any